Okay, so today we're about to get into something different. It's what I'm calling the Grown Ass Woman Summer Series. Of course, if you are not in the Western Hemisphere, it might not be summer for you, but stick with me. Okay, so let me just break down what this series is all about. Each episode is built around one single question, a question that midlife women are asking. We're not talking about hypotheticals, no coachy prompts, just the kind of stuff that comes up when we are by ourselves. Every now and then, it's something that comes up in the group chat with your homegirls when everybody's sitting around sipping wine and telling the truth. Okay, so this first one is a biggie, and it is for those of us who are in a relationship or have been in a relationship. The question is, what if I'm turned off by my partner? Mhm. Mhm. I know you're nodding because if you are in a long-term relationship, you might have felt this, and if you've been in one, you might have felt this too. This is a question that a lot of women grapple with, especially if you've been together for a minute. If the butterflies aren't really flapping their wings and the conversations get stale sometimes, and sometimes it's just because some things feel off, and maybe it has been for quite a while. And for the record, we ain't just talking about sex. So, this is where we're going with this. We are going to talk about attraction and how the body and energy responds to the other person. We're going to talk about resonance. Do they still feel like your person? We're going to get into the vibe. Has the dynamic shifted into something that just doesn't feel good anymore? We are also going to talk about why some of those shifts feel so personal. And then I'm going to give you three things that I want you to sit with, not to fix, but just some places to check in with yourself. So let's get into it. Right out of the box, I want to say that when this question comes up, what if I'm turned off by my partner? Most of the time, a lot of the time, we need to figure out who to blame. And half of us turn inward. We start asking, what's wrong with us? Like, why aren't we attracted? Why don't we feel sexy? Why can't we just snap out of it? The other half of us turn it outward. They changed. They stopped trying. They used to be more affectionate. They don't even notice me anymore, right? And I'm not here to tell you which one of those perspectives is true. What I do want to say is it's probably not that simple because when attraction shifts, and it's rarely just about them and it's rarely just about you, by the way, but often when attraction shifts, it's about the way we've been moving around each other. It's about the distance that has been building up that we've been too busy to address, or the way we feel when we walk in the room that the other person is in. And maybe we just not feeling that much at all, right? And that nothingness, like not feeling anything, can feel scary and confusing, especially if you still love them, especially if nothing bad has happened. So, like, I'm talking about shit is not hitting the fan. It's just kind of a low hum, just a flat line, right? But when that happens, when we start to recognize that we aren't feeling anything or very little, and sometimes it's not that we're feeling nothing or very little, it's that we're feeling irritation. And everything they do is grating on us. The way they chew, the way they clear their throat, the way they tell the same story like it's the first time, right? And then you're wondering, was it always like this or is it me? Is it that I didn't notice that it was always like this? Like these are the type of thoughts that come up, right? And those are normal thoughts, by the way. Before I get into the questions that I want you to sit with, I want to make something clear about attraction. Attraction is not constant. It's not a checklist that you cross off once and it just stays checked. And even in the healthiest relationships, attraction ebbs and flows, just like everything else in the universe. There are days when you feel connected and open and easy. And then there are days when the energy feels heavy or flat or annoying. And that doesn't always mean that the relationship is off track, but sometimes it just means that you're tired or or you're stressed, you got a lot on your plate, just life is lifing. So I want to keep it all the way real though, because there are days, and this is the part, there are days when you don't even feel attracted to yourself. There are days when that happens to me. So sometimes seasons where that's happening to me. But it stands to reason that if you aren't feeling you, it stands to reason that that also happens in partnership, right? We've been conditioned to believe that attraction equals alignment. And when we stop feeling it, especially sometimes the volume is just turned down, but when we stop feeling it, we think something is wrong. But most of the time, it just means you're human and that your nervous system is processing a gazillion things. And it could also mean that you're just not in a season of va va voom, right? And that's okay. And then on top of all of that, there's pressure, the pressure to keep things exciting, to keep somebody interested, to keep it hot. And most of the time, a lot of the time, that pressure falls on women because capitalism. And we're the ones who are supposed to initiate intimacy and keep it spicy and be turned on and emotionally available and keep our booty tight and keep our titties up. And we're juggling work and family and aging parents and body changing and this wild ass world that we're currently living in, right? It's not sustainable. And it certainly doesn't feel like freedom. And so, no matter how loving your partner may be, if the expectation is, even if it's not your partner's expectation, even if it's just a societal expectation or conditioning, if the expectation is that you need to stay turned on for life, it's a setup. And that's also true for your partner. If the expectation is that they are supposed to be constantly sparking something in you, that they need to make you feel sexy, desired, connection, and alive all the time, that's also a setup because nobody can hold those standards, not you, not them. And so when we drop the expectation of always being lit up, always feeling aligned, always vibing, we make space for reality. Reality. So let's just take a breath right here, woo-saw a little bit so that we can stop assuming that these feelings are failures and stop performing and get in the spirit of curiosity because, everything is data. So now here are the three things that I want you to sit with. Number one, when was the last time you felt good around them without trying? And I'm not talking about like we had a good night out or we haven't been arguing. I'm talking about a sense of ease, where you feel like you are just able to be yourself, where you aren't managing their emotions and you aren't biting your own tongue. You are just being. And if it's been a while since you felt that kind of ease, that's okay. Don't panic. I'm just inviting you to pay attention to that. The second question is, can you still feel curious about them? Or do you find yourself critiquing them? Something happens when we stop wondering about somebody and start resenting them. When everything they do feels like a powder keg for you inside. When it's, again, whether it's how they chew, how they talk, how they breathe, if all that irritates you, it doesn't always mean that you don't love him, but it might mean that empathy is fading. And once empathy starts slipping, it's hard to feel connected. It's hard to feel open. It's hard to want to reach for them. So if this is you, I want you to ask yourself, is this a passing phase or has this become the new normal? This critiquing, this irritation. Is this how it's been? Is this how it is? You don't need to do anything about it. I just want you to sit with that. And the last question is, do you still like who you are in this relationship? That one might sting a little bit, but please, 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 I implore you to sit with it. Are you proud of how you're showing up here? Are you proud of the work that you're doing in this relationship? Or, again, do you find yourself shutting down, snapping, pretending, trying to please? Do you feel seen? Or do you feel like you've been disappearing in plain sight? And this is not about whether or not they're a good person. It's just about how you feel when you're in this relational container. And if you feel like you have become someone that you barely recognize, if you're feeling resentment, bitter, flat, numb, and that's the constant, it's worth looking at what the relationship is requiring of you and whether it's still something you have the capacity to give. Again, I'm not asking you to unpack, I'm just asking you to sit. See how these questions sit in your body. Maybe you want to ask yourself while you're on a walk. You can also, and I recommend asking yourself whichever of the three, you don't have to sit with all three questions if that doesn't feel right, but whichever one is popping out the strongest for you, ask yourself before you go to bed and then see what you think or feel in the morning. Because sometimes clarity comes through unconsciousness. And in closing, if this is where you are and if you just are not feeling the level of attraction for your partner, I won't say that you once did, because we're not trying to feel the hormonal surge that comes when you first get together with somebody. We're just talking about the normal feeling of being pulled toward the person you're with. And know this, long-term relationships stretch. They stall sometimes, they shift, sometimes they become a little quasi-stagnant. And this is just a checkpoint if this is where you are. You don't need to make any moves today. This is just an invitation to stop pretending that you don't notice what you notice. And if you've been noticing the shift already, it doesn't make you disloyal. It just means that you are being honest enough to give yourself room to breathe. So whether sitting with these questions leads to reconnection or reinvention or release, it's just a chance for you to meet yourself again. Because grown-ass woman love isn't about chasing highs. It's about learning how to feel steady, no matter what's going on. And if the spark does come back, great. If it doesn't, you'll still be okay. Either way, the point isn't just to stay turned on. It's just to stay awake. I hope that this episode brings up some clarity for you if you need it. And if this episode didn't speak to you directly, but maybe it speaks to somebody that you know, please forward it. And next week, we will be back exploring another question in Grown Ass Woman Summer. And I love you.